Our speaker today is a former Rotarian, former member of this club back in the early years. Leitha Cipriano is in her 15th year as the Executive Director for the Center for Restorative Justice, also known as CRJ. She has been instrumental in leading CRJ from a small, single program agency and developing it into a full-service community justice agency. With over 26 different programs and services, CRJ serves over 1,500 people a year.
Wow.
Has 9 full-time staff, 10 governing board members, and nearly 50 community volunteers. Right, Victor?
Excuse me.
Thank you. Leitha is a member of numerous local committees, such as the Bennington Opioid Leadership Team, Juvenile Justice Teams, as well as several state-level groups and committees. Leitha was recently elected as the chairperson of the state's Vermont Association Court Diversion Program. Leitha lives in Wilmington with her husband and has 2 adult sons now living in northern Vermont. And just from my personal perspective, I have worked with Leitha in the family court, taking kids from there, putting them into constructive programs, and avoiding other situations for them. So Leitha, please.
Right here is good. And I've been asked to use the microphone so we can broadcast this all over the county and beyond. So thank you very much for having me. I know I spoke at one of the clubs, and it might have been the morning club not too long ago, but I'm really thrilled to be back here. I know many of you here already know a bit about CRJ, and I can, Mary Morrissey is actually on the board of directors at CRJ and has been for many, many years. And again, as Doug mentioned, I've been there now for about 15 years. So what we've passed out is, I'm not trying to do a lot of handouts, but I wanted to give you a visual so you can see sort of at a snapshot the different programs in the program continuum that we have here at CRJ. And I think it'd be best if, as we go along, if you have questions, I'd rather this be interactive. So if you have questions about a program or whatnot, just shout it out, and that would make this a lot more interesting than just having me stand up here to talk about it. So when we talk about restorative justice, it's really not a foreign concept. I think probably all of us do this every day in our lives, and I know I grew up in a household that practiced restorative justice, because really what it was is about when harm was caused. If you're a child and you hit another kid, what did your parents do? It's like, come on, you're going to go and you're going to apologize to Billy, and you're going to buy Billy that new truck that you broke. And you're going to figure out what is it you need to learn so you don't hit or hurt Billy again. That's really what restorative justice is. It's taking a situation where a person has harmed somebody else and holding them accountable and figuring out what it is they need to do to make things right. Okay, so basically what we do in restorative justice is an offender, whether it be through the criminal justice system or family court system, figuring out, okay, you've offended, you've hurt somebody, how can you learn not to do this again? And now you've hurt somebody, figure out what harm has been done, and involve that victim and really empower the victim to have a voice. So victims are instrumental in the restorative process. So at the end of the day, everybody walks away hopefully feeling whole again and that all of their needs have been met. So what we do in our work is now we have about 26 different programs under the roof of CRJ, and we are one of the only agencies in the state of Vermont that houses a continuum of services as comprehensive as this. If you go to any other county in the state, most of these programs are siloed. So you'll go to diversion over here, or criminal justice program for adults over here, truancy programs over here. And what I think we're really lucky here in Bennington, because we're a one-stop shop, and we're really proud of that. And we are cited by legislative bodies as well as the Attorney General's office that we are the model program in the state. And so we've really done a lot of great work here in Bennington, and I know I'm really proud of that. So just looking at the continuum, we work within the schools, and that column all the way to your right or left, depending which way you hold the paper, are our school-based programs. We have contracts with the Southwest Vermont Supervisory Union as well as Burn Burton to do on-site restorative interventions at the school. We do on-site truancy work at all of the elementary schools in the Bennington area. And we also do a pre-charge program for, I'm jumping the gun, that's the other. So we're at Mount Anthony Middle School, the high school, Burton, and the Truancy Project. And the thinking behind those programs are getting involved early on, because the idea really is breaking that cycle as early as possible. And truancy is a great example of that. When a third grader isn't going to school, it's not usually the third grader that doesn't want to get out of bed in the morning. It's usually a parental issue. So it's a real wraparound service, and we deal with a holistic approach engaging the family. When it's the 8th grader who won't get out of bed in the morning, then it really becomes a truancy issue, because now it's usually a habit that might have developed over time. And so, now we're dealing with it from a different angle, because now it's becoming really more of a youth or a teenage issue, and we all know what truancy leads to, and it's usually other at-risk types of behaviors. So we like to get involved early on, and I believe, I don't have the numbers from last year because our fiscal year just ended in the end of June, but we served close to 80 kids in truancy just last year alone. So that's our school-based programs, and again, if you have any questions as we go along, just give me a holler. The next set of yes, Doug.
When is a child considered truant?
Well, that's funny. There's no definition in the state for truancy. It's up to each district to develop their own truancy protocol.
And Bennington's is what?
I don't know if there's no definite number that defines truancy in Bennington. So, but there is an intervention plan that the system has developed. There's like a 5-day plan. There's then after 10 days of truancy. After 10, there's different levels of intervention along the path. So pre-arraignment restorative programs encompass, I think, the programs that we are most widely known for. And that means court diversion. That is the program that was started many years ago by your mom, and her name is escaping me, Kathy Cardiff. Began back in the early 80s, and that's what our name was, Bennington County Court Diversion Program Incorporated. And she was there for a long time, probably like 20 years or so. 2 years. And so really brought court diversion into the fold of our Bennington community. So we owe it all to her for bringing that to us here. But court diversion is about connecting people with our program. That we divert them out of the court system, and it's typically for misdemeanor offenses that may be low-level, first or second-time offenses. We also can see folks that have felonies. But the idea is to get them within a restorative program, and if they meet all of their contract conditions, those cases are actually dismissed. So we're not tying up the court system with cases that can be handled by community members. We do juveniles and adults as well. Mary? Yes, so all of those referrals come from state's attorney. And like I said, it's a pre-arraignment program, so they would be cited into court, but they never have to go before the judge. It's done before pre-arraignment, and that is all decided by the state's attorney in conjunction with the defense attorneys as well. And that is in juvenile court as well as adult criminal court.
What is the training that people have who are working with?
So for volunteers, so we have about 45 community volunteers. It is a 12-hour training program that encompasses basics from restorative justice to techniques that we use, such as motivational interviewing, how the process works, because we use restorative justice across the board in all of our programs. So if they're going before a panel with diversion panel, we'll use the same process for a reparative client or a child with a truancy or a pre-charge program as well. So it's across the board, but it is a 12-hour program, and there is a criminal background check conducted by all. So, yeah, thank you. Treatment diversion program is one of the newest programs. That is a program where a person may not be a first-time offender, but let's say they keep coming in time and time again for, say, retail theft charge, or a simple assault charge. It's like, oh, I saw you here 2 weeks ago, and whatnot. And it's pretty much understood that the underlying issue might be substance use. So the idea with that program is to connect them with a substance abuse or mental health professional, along with held accountable for their actions. So if it was a retail theft, they would still go to a panel and talk about, how they have harmed and be held accountable for their offense. But the catch with that program is they have to go before and get connected with a mental health counselor. And we follow them in that treatment, and once they're engaged in that treatment and then they've met all their conditions, then the state's attorney will dismiss those charges as well. So again, it's a diversion program just like the other program, with the addition of substance abuse or mental health counseling. Civil DLS, yes?
Can I just ask, have you encountered any difficulty getting people hooked up because of availability of services? Or access?
We work not only with UCS, who's of course our primary provider here for that, but we have connections with a lot of private providers as well. So we've been pretty lucky with getting people connected, so yeah. And the Civil DLS diversion program, so that is similar. Driving with suspended license, if you don't know, it's one of Vermont's biggest problems. So many, I don't even know how many tens of thousands of people are driving every day on the streets with suspended licenses. And a lot of it is because they get in this downward spiral and they just can't pay. They keep racking up fines after fines after fines, and they have no way of getting out of that hole. So we have a program that connects them with the various programs in the state. There are several programs that people don't even know about. There's some that can reduce their fines. A ticket can go from $300 to $30 based on their income. There are some fines that they don't even have to pay off right now. They can get their license reinstated and wait for their taxes to come in, and it can come out of their taxes. They can get put on these payment plans. So navigating through the Judicial Bureau and DMV, we help them do that. So that's a huge program and a huge need. Youth Substance Abuse Safety Program helps. We helped about 250 kids last year who were cited for civil underage drinking and possession of marijuana violations. Those are not criminal charges, but what happens is if they don't do the program, a ticket gets issued, there's a $300 fine, and then their licenses get suspended, and it shows up on the DMV driving record as an alcohol-related offense, which follows them for a long time, and they end up having to get SR22 insurance we were talking about, and their insurance rates goes through the roof. We have a program that it's an education and treatment program, so the kids get these tickets, they come through our program, they successfully complete, and those tickets get voided out. So it's not criminalizing and punishing kids, it's connecting kids with the education and treatment that they need so they can learn from that experience. Betsy?
Is tobacco still attached to fines at the high school at all?
Well, it is a civil violation for tobacco, and so it isn't connected with their driver's license, however.
Okay.
So it's a flat $25 fine
Right.
with with a tobacco ticket. It used to be connected with their driver's license, which was huge. You had these 35-year-old people like, oh, I was 16, I had a ticket. So this legislature
Has erased that now.
got rid of that. So that's a good thing as
Yeah.
well. But we are working with Marianne Morris from Manchester. She runs the collaborative, and we're going to be working at Burton because vaping is becoming huge. Like
Yeah.
schools don't even know what to do with the vaping problems at the schools. So we're thinking of doing some kind of a similar program. So we're not just slapping fines and tickets on kids who they don't care about a $25 fine. They're not going to pay it, and there's no repercussions if they don't. When they get 18 or 21, they're just going to take it out of their taxes. So wouldn't we rather have kids
So
learn?
They actually take it out of kids' taxes
Yeah,
at
when they get,
21,
yeah, they'll
and
follow
they haven't
them.
paid these fines.
It's like, oh yeah, I remember that when I was like 10 years ago. But we want kids to understand the dangers of the health risks, and at least give kids the education and opportunity to get help if they need the help. So, and tell me if I know we're on a time frame. So just like tell me. You're good. I'm good. Juvenile pre-charge program. That's one of our newest programs. This we started with State's Attorney Erica Marthage, and this is to identify how we can keep kids from even entering the family court system. So we have come up with a list of offenses for kids who these are kids that really haven't been in trouble before, and there's a list of retail theft. You know, it's the Walmart stealing a candy bar from Walmart, or the bus stop fight, you know, a simple assault, or an unlawful mischief charge. So there's a list of offenses that police officers can directly refer kids to our restorative program, And if they complete and they go through the whole restorative process, then we notify the arresting officer, and those charges actually get dismissed. If the kids and the families don't engage, then those cases will get sent on to family court. And I should say, all juveniles entering the system, we do it's a risk assessment on kids. So let's say a kid comes into us, and it's happened many times, maybe it's their first time they've had interactions with the law. We do this risk assessment, it's called the YAZI. If it comes up moderate or moderate high, meaning there's stuff going on in this kid's life that maybe the charge was really minor, maybe it was a candy bar from Walmart, but we find out the kid's not going to school, you know, they're homeless, there's all this substance use going on, we will kick that case back to the officer and say, we're not taking this as a pre-charge. We now need to get this kid connected with services, meaning DCF, which DCF isn't, you know, they're a support. They're not, everybody sees DCF as like, oh no, but they are actually there because this family there's something going on in the family. So we do this, even though it's an early intervention referral, it doesn't mean we're going to keep that case in pre-charge because we might need to connect that kid to services that they need. So that's a very exciting new program that we're one of the first in the state that actually is doing a program like that. And then Mediation Services is another fairly new program. We have 3 trained certified mediators on staff that can do civil types of mediation. We're talking tenant disputes. We do a lot of school, like bullying types of mediation as well. So we've been getting involved more in mediation end of things. So that's all pre-arraignment. So that means there's been charges filed, but it never goes any further. Then the whole middle big column there is juvenile restorative programming. We get a good grant from the Department of Children and Families, and those are a bunch of programs that we do. We do panels for kids that are on probation. We do, it's called street checks or community support and supervision. We have folks going out and checking on kids that might have curfews or parents just need that extra support. We do mentoring, life skills education. Oh, after school, we just got 2 new grants to expand our after school program for at-risk teens. So we now will have a program every day after school where kids can just drop in. These are for kids that they're not joining the football team or joining drama. They just want a place to hang out after school. And if they were coming here, we're not sure where they're going to be. They're going to be on the streets or hanging out and possibly getting into some delinquent behaviors. So we give them a place where we give them food and snacks and beanbag chairs and video games, and they hang out now every day after school with us on Main Street. We do movie nights at Willowbrook. We're expanding movie nights up in Manchester as well. Summer program starts next week. We got a nice little grant to do a week-long summer program for your most at-risk kids. These are kids who have never left Bennington. These are kids who are ingrained in the DCF system. We are taking them next week whitewater rafting, zip lining, the ropes course. Every day there's like something, kayaking. We're taking a group of 12 kids out to explore, learn new skills about how it's cool it is, and I'm not such a bad person, am I? And leadership skills, teamwork skills, so that's really exciting and cool. And I mentioned the Aussie pre-screens. We screen all kids coming in through family court. It's a training program that several of my staff went through. So we give the information to the state's attorney, so we can direct kids to a program not based on the charge or the offense, but we're sending kids based on their risk level. Low risk, low intervention. You know, high risk, let's get some services around these kids. So that's what that program's about. Pretrial services, this is where we start now entering the adult world, where folks that are arrested and there might be some underlying substance use or mental health issues, we will do a screening for the courts and provide that information. So again, the courts, state's attorney, defense attorneys can make an educated guess as to how we're going to maneuver this person through the system. And monitoring and case management. So a person could be released with conditions from court, and it's usually they need mental health or substance use counseling, but they want somebody to sort of track that they're going, so we'll do that kind of stuff for them. And then the last 2 columns really deal with post-arraignment. These are for adults through the criminal justice system that have had a conviction and are either on probation So that column talks about reparative probation or reparative without probation. So what that means is, it's like diversion, where they go before a restorative panel. Diversion, they successfully complete, the charges are dismissed. With reparative, they go through the program. The conviction stands, but it's a condition of their probation. So they'll have met a probation condition, and then they can report back to the judge that they are meeting their probation conditions. And it's usually because there are victims involved. And what we want to do, again, restorative justice is about holding people accountable and making sure that victims' needs are met. And that's why a judge will have them go before a reparative board. DRIVE is what used to be called the Victim Impact Panel, and the idea behind that program is for people that have had driving offenses like DUIs or negligent op or other types of offenses. Part of their condition might be to go to this class. And it's so we bring in victims who have either themselves or family members have been impacted by someone, a drunk driver or some other kind of a motor vehicle charge, and they can share their impact. And it's this whole, it's a real powerful program that people leave there. It just makes them think very differently about their driving habits and things they may need to change in the future. And expungement assistance. So we now also help folks file with the court to get their records expunged. And a lot of people, I think, in the past never did that because they didn't know what it entailed. We have people trained to help them walk through the system. And I should say, as of July 1st, it now doesn't cost anything to get your record expunged. It used to be a $90 filing fee, but a person can seek to have their records expunged for no cost now. So there are a list of offenses that are not eligible, but we will help people walk through the system. But it's, it's simply, obviously, serious felony offenses are not eligible. Any kind of domestic violence offenses are not eligible as well. But most any misdemeanor offense is. And now DUI ones, which were never ever eligible for expungement before, a DUI one can, after a certain length of time, apply to have that record at least sealed. And there is a filing fee for that one. But so we will walk people through. So people with criminal histories, like, they were 21 and did a goofy thing, and now that they're, 20 years later, they have a career and whatever, file, get that expunged. It comes off their record. So if you know anybody, we will help them. And I have a lot of materials with me today if you want specific materials about specific programs, but I just wanted to give you sort of a snapshot. And the last column talks about reentry. And these are for folks they're coming back to live in Bennington, whether we like it or not. These are people who have served their time, and they have been incarcerated for quite some time, and are coming back to live in the community, and they come out what they call is on furlough. So that means they have earned the right to come out of jail, but they still have a sentence to serve. So we will work with those hard to serve folks to get them connected with housing, jobs, connected with services, connected with getting, if they need food stamps or other kind of social service help. So we do navigation. We do a program called Circles of Support and Accountability, where we have a group of 3 to 5 volunteers meet every week with an offender who has come out of jail. And these are for your most hard to work with folks that if they didn't have a new circle of support, they're going to end up back in jail, or they're going to end up recommitting some kind of offense because of the lack of surrounding themselves with people that are there to support them. Because the worst thing that can happen is a person comes out of jail, and the first thing to do is go back and reconnect with the same people they were associated with and come out. The likelihood of them ending back in is quite high. So that's this program called COSA. And then we do Reentry Navigation. We have, groups that help people learn. Some people are coming out, they don't even know how to use a cell phone. They've been in so long. Or, just getting reacclimated with the community again. So that's a real quick snapshot of what we do at CRJ. Again, we served with 1,600 people last year, and I've yet to do the numbers for this coming year. And again, we're close to $600,000 now, our budget, which is quite big or it's actually quite small when you think about the number of work and people that we serve. And there is a study, if somebody asked me, usually I get asked like, well, what's the cost savings to taxpayers? Well, there is a study happening right now, at least for court diversion, to come up with a real number of, if a person going through, let's say a retail theft, going through the traditional court system versus coming through this alternative system, and so to really give a concrete number as to how much we are saving taxpayers and how effective it is. So, yes.
Do you keep statistics on the people who go through your restorative program and whether they ever re-enter at some point?
So that's a great question. It's a recidivism project that is it's being conducted right now by Department of Corrections. The problem with the court diversion ones is those records go away. So it's hard to see, because so somebody goes through court diversion, the records get sealed and no one can open them. So 3 years from now, if they re-offended, there's no way to find out that they went, there's no record of them having gone through the program before. So we are trying to figure out a way to track that. We know, in general, restorative justice programming has a greater impact on recidivism. I mean, if you think about it, so a case would be, okay, a woman recently had her purse stolen. She was at Price Chopper. She was getting in the car, helping her disabled husband. Somebody stole her purse, ran away. Any other court case, he would have normally been sent to court. He would have been charged with some kind of a theft charge or whatnot, and probably given a fine, maybe put on probation, maybe he would have been sent to jail, depending on his history. With restorative justice, now, the victim is invited to come before the panel. They would sit down around a table, and the offender would be there, and the victim came. The victim was able to look at this person, who was a young guy, and said, do you know, when you stole my purse, my husband's medication was in there, my house keys were in there, my license was in there, you know where I lived. And we lived in fear for months, not knowing if you were gonna come back and get us. We had to change all our locks, and so she's telling this story to this young guy, and he's just like, oh my God. And he said, look, lady, I just took your money, I threw your purse away, I didn't even look at that. And she's like, oh, thank God, because I really thought you were gonna come after us. And he's like, oh my God, like, I had no idea that I had this big of an impact on, you and your family. And they hugged at the end, and he's like, I am so sorry. And she's like, well, I am so relieved. I thought, we thought we were living in fear. But that process was like, you can't get that in a court setting. And it was like, wow, and everybody left there, and it's like, that's what it was all about. And it was like, so we know, or I would put money on the fact that that kid is not going to rip off somebody's purse ever again. But, I can't say he might have other thoughts if he just went to court, paid his fine, served a year on probation, and not have had that experience. So that to me is the power of restorative justice, because it empowers that victim, it empowers the community, because there's also community members present, and that's an example of what we do every day, of like that real impact that the process has on people's lives. So, yes.
New York State has a program for somebody who gets convicted of a DUI where they get a conditional or exemption to go drive to work. And from what I understand, Vermont does not have
That's
it.
correct. Vermont does not have a provisional license. Nope. It's an automatic, once the conviction, or I think it's a 6-month license suspension. They have to go through CRASH, which is a program run by the Turning Point. It's like about $500. Then they have to do all this mandated counseling. And then they cannot drive. They cannot drive.
But if they're not able to make a living, how do they pay for all that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and the good news is with the, if it wasn't a DUI, let's say there were other suspensions, when we file a motion for people that may be under suspension, and we get that motion approved, not a DUI though, but other offenses, they can start driving. If they keep making their monthly payments on the motion that we file for them, and they come in, they make their monthly payment might only be like $30 a month, they can legally get their license back and start driving again while paying it down. DUIs are not eligible, according to the state of Vermont. But, yeah.
Do you need volunteers?
We could certainly always use volunteers, so absolutely. And the commitment to be a volunteer is to sit on a panel once a month. Panels run for about 3 hours. We have about 8 to 10 different time slots, like it's always going to be like the first Tuesday at 3 o'clock or the second Wednesday at 1. I mean, so there's a commitment of you pick a panel and you try to stick with that panel. So I encourage anybody, if you want to learn more, visit our website and give us a call to learn about when we may be holding our next volunteer orientation. Jim?
I was just going to ask about the expungement program, and you were speaking specifically about DUIs. I had a friend who was not allowed entry into Canada because the Canadian laws are such that if you have a DUI on your record, you cannot, at least they have the option of not letting you into their country. With the expungement, and nobody seemed to know about that. I had not heard of it, but he was supposed to go to a hockey tournament with a bunch of friends, and he couldn't go.
Well, DUIs aren't eligible for expungement. But July 1st, the law changed to allow for a DUI 1 to be sealed after a period of time. And I don't know if it has to be 2 years or longer. But that's at least a step in one direction because it's considered a predicate offense. So the state said, we don't want to expunge a predicate offense. A predicate offense is an offense that builds on another. So you get a DUI 1. Next year, if you get a DUI 2, the penalties are much higher. And then you could get a DUI 3. So you don't want to, the state doesn't want to get rid of a DUI 1 because they want to know if your 2 or 3 is really a 2 or 3 because 2 could be a 1. Same thing with the domestic violence charge. They are not eligible because with a DV charge, if you get rid of that charge and dismiss it, down the road when a person picks up another domestic violence charge, it's going to look like it's their first offense. So those are important for the state to build a case for a pattern. So they are not interested in expunging those. But they are looking to at least seal, and it may not be an automatic sealing. A person may have to really make a good case of why that should be. Like if it was 20 years ago and they got a DUI 1, they might be eligible to be sealed.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was asking with the seal.
I don't think they'd be able to see it. A sealing, yeah, there's a little difference between expungement and sealing. Sealing, like the FBI and people that want to see it will see it. I don't think the general, populate, like employers wouldn't be able to see it. Expungement, it literally, like, gets wiped away. So. Yes. Oh, good point. Yes. So it sounds like we are. So thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.